Well, hello, my name is Shelton Johnson. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for Yosemite National Park. I'm also a National Park Ranger. And I have to say that I'm absolutely thrilled to be speaking with Deanna Mitchell, the Superintendent of Harriet Tubman. And I'm speechless. And for me to be in a state of speechlessness is extremely unusual. And it's the cause is the high regard that I have for Harriet Tubman and for her role in African American history, in American history. And she's one of my personal heroes. So it's an honor, Deanna, to speak to you, to meet you, because you literally are that person who holds that history. So I think a good way to begin is if you can just give us some of your background, the significance of Harriet Tubman for those folks who do not know about Harriet Tubman. So thank you, Deanna.
All right. Well, listen, Shelton, thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today. So I'm Deanna Mitchell, and I am the superintendent of the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historical Park. And we are located in Church Creek, Maryland. It's on the eastern shore of Maryland, very, very rural, because that's where Harriet, she grew up here. Harriet Tubman was a very petite woman. She was only 5 feet tall, but she was as strong as an ox, okay? Mm-hmm. So when visitors come into the visitor center, that's the first thing that they see. That is, to me, that is like the most important exhibit piece that we have in the visitor center, and that is a bust of Harriet Tubman. When you walk into the museum, you're entering the south end of the building. And when you see that bust with that pedestal, Harriet is oriented north. Why? Because the symbolism is she wanted her freedom, and her freedom was north. Mm-hmm. So we want visitors to get that same experience. They come, mm-hmm. They follow Harriet's eyes north. Mm-hmm. It's very dark, mm-hmm. as you enter and make your way into the exhibit hall, because it was dark times. The exhibit hall really does take you through a path, a pattern, if you will, kind of like along the Underground Railroad, of Harriet, mm-hmm. making her way to freedom. All the people that she came across, all the backbreaking work that she did as a child and as a young adult, you experience that in the exhibit hall. And as you make your way towards the end, and when you get to the northern part of the building, that's when the light shines. That's when everything becomes real and reality sits in, and you feel that you've made it, that you've made your way through obstacles and hurdles that you just didn't think that you were going to be able to. So I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of how we tell the story of Harriet Tubman here in Church Creek, Maryland.
Well, what you said was beautiful. I really appreciate that. And the thing that stayed in my mind at a certain point at the beginning was when you mentioned that freedom in the United States for African Americans at that time was a compass bearing. And that's a very powerful thing, that just moving in a certain direction to an unknown place would lead to liberation, would lead to freedom. So I just love that.
When we have visitors that come to the park, they come because they're thirsty. They're thirsty to learn. They may not know a lot about Harriet Tubman, and that's fine, because that's why we're there, right? And one of the most routine questions that we get, Shelton, when people come there, they said, well, we're here because we want to see the train station. Where's the train, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're thinking of the Underground Railroad in a literal sense, right? Mm-hmm. And so we take time to explain to them that no, there are no train tracks here. It was an opportunity for people to seek shelter on their journey. And what Harriet Tubman meant when she talks about being a conductor is she was very keen in the messaging. she knew how to get messages and to just to alert people on what they needed to do and how they needed to do it.
So when I think about some of these stories that you guys are telling, I'm curious about how do you address any controversy? Because there's just obviously with slavery, you're dealing with conflict and you're dealing with a history in our own country of not fully recognizing the depth of the depravity that was slavery that resulted in it's like if Harriet Tubman hadn't been born, she would have had to have been created.
Right, exactly. And, you know, it can be hard to see images, right?
Mhm,
And,
yeah.
you know, we have to tell the story, good, bad, ugly, right? And it's the way in which you do it. Yes, there are going to be people who it may be difficult for them to hear it, but I tell you, more times than not, I have held people, I have consoled people, visitors who have through and spent, you know, an hour or two at the park, and it's almost like a light bulb came on in their mind, because they're like, my gosh, I had no idea. And they weep, and they have wept in my arms, because some have apologized, even though
Mhm,
they
yeah.
had anything. I mean, they have nothing to do with what had happened, but they're apologizing because they feel that this was such an ugly period of our history that still there's still some open wounds, right?
Well,
You know?
yeah, that's the thing is that the past often is prologue. When people look at movements today, such as Black Lives Matter is an extension of what was happening during the Civil Rights Movement. But the Civil Rights Movement in the United States has been going on since Africans have been in the United States.
Mhm.
You can't repress that sense of liberation, that sense of freedom. And so that is not just an African American story, that is a human story going
Right.
back since the beginning of our species. And that's what's powerful about the Harriet Tubman story for me, because she obviously had to do the same. And so many African Americans at that time period had to do the exact same thing.
Right, right, right. You know, someone asked me once, if Harriet Tubman were alive today, what do you think she would think about where we are as a nation, as a world? And I said, oh my goodness, I'm thinking about all that she went through, but she kept going. Right?
Yeah.
She always, she, her thing was, she would tell freedom seekers, if you hear the dogs behind you, keep going. If you see a torch in the woods, keep going. If you hear someone shouting out for you, keep going. If you want freedom, keep going. And so that's what she did in her life. She kept going. But if she were here today, I think she would think that we're going backwards, because what she suffered, you know, she would think that was in vain.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, you have to keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
the civil rights movement, Black Lives Matter, all of that is an extension of that impulse that Harriet Tubman spoke to with her own life. Her own life was a light that she held for others to see moving forward. And in her case, what I love about this whole story is the fact that at that time, freedom had a direction.
Yes.
That north was the direction towards freedom. And I think the challenges that we're having today is that there's no compass bearing
Yes.
pointing to where that true freedom actually is.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Shelton. I knew about Harriet Tubman growing up as a little girl. I didn't know everything about her, but I knew about her because my mom grew up on the Eastern Shore. But there was not much in the history books when I was coming up. But it's a different day now. I'm just so excited about, you know, the proclamation that came under President Obama in 2013 to designate the Harriet Tubman National Monument.
And you know, it's been that different day since Carter G. Woodson dreamed up
Yes.
Negro History Week back in the 1920s, because the academia or the academicians at that time refused to acknowledge the contribution of African Americans to American culture. You know, it's like there's this
Right.
perception of the unlettered African in the field who cannot have these finer thoughts, these thoughts of emancipation, of what freedom actually means. But that's implicit in our DNA as human beings.
That's exactly right. When visitors come in, Shelton, it's not so much that I know they come in with race on their mind, but after they go through and experience the museum, the conversation in questions and things of that nature afterwards, it may come up organically. And it's a good conversation, you know?
Yeah.
It's all about. We have to talk to each other.
There's a character in a Hollywood film called A Few Good Men. And that character is asked to tell the truth in court while on the witness stand. As interpreters, we are all on that stand, given that we are witnesses to history. That character responded, quote, "You can't handle the truth," unquote. Visitors come to our various sites, come to your site to learn about the past, but do you feel they're sincerely invested in learning the truth?
Let me start by saying this. We have been around the Park Service, what, 1916. I just think that people trust us. So I think when they enter the doors and they see a park ranger, you know, their eyes light up. They pull out their passport books. They have their children there, you know, and they're, what kind of activities do you have for my child and this, that, and the other. So I think that they come there to hear the truth. And I think that they can handle the truth because they trust us. If there wasn't any trust there, I think it'd be a little different story.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing that I would also add to that is that the purpose of story, and storytelling is the most ancient of all art forms, was to convey truth from generation to generation, just like, you know, the Olympics where they pass one torch and the torch lights another torch. It's that light. It's that light, and the truth is always that illumination that lights up more than just what you see around you, but something even greater.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. So I just think we just need to keep doing what we're doing. What is it? What's that saying? If it's not broke, don't try to fix it.
Don't fix it. Yeah.
Don't try to fix it. I think we're doing a bang up job. So
I agree with you. And we'll just keep Harriet Tubman in our minds because we're still with her. She's still walking north. She's still moving forward. Right. And we just need to keep moving forward with her because I think that probably right around now, she's looking over her shoulder saying, keep up, keep up.
That's it. That's
You're
right.
Lagging.
That's right. You're lagging. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's exactly right. You're absolutely right, Shelton.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Deanna.
You too, Shelton.
Thank you for doing everything that you're doing and keeping the spirit of Harriet Tubman alive. And somewhere out there, she's still moving forward, and we're gonna join her. We're already with her.
There you go. Thank you, Shelton.